The Senate will come to order. Mr. Schauffele, please call the roll.
Senators Amabile, Baisley, Ball, Bridges, Bright, Carson,
Excused.
Catlin, Cutter, Danielson,
Excused.
Doherty,
Excused.
Exum, Frizzell, Gonzalez, Hendrickson, Jaquez Lewis, Judah, Kip, Kirkmeyer, Colker, Liston,
Excused.
Lundeen, Marchman, Michelson-Genet, Mullica, Pelton B, Pelton R, Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez, Simpson, Snyder, Sullivan, Weissman, Winter, Carson, Danielson, Liston, Mr. President.
Let's do this. The morning roll call is 34 present, 0 absent, and 1 excused. We have a quorum. Senator Catlin, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Colleagues, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Ball.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate Journal of February 3rd, 2025 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. That's nice. Opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Senate Services.
Correctly printed, Senate Bill 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, and 115. Correctly engrossed, Senate Bill 51 and 52, Senate Joint Resolution 5. Correctly re-engrossed, Senate Bill 19 and 46. Correctly enrolled, Senate Resolution 4. Senate Resolution 4.
Nicely done, Mr. Schauffele. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we proceed out of order for moments of personal privileges from the senator from Platteville and the senator from Monument.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will proceed out of order for moments of personal privilege. Mr. Minority Leader.
Good morning, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you very much. For the benefit and edification of this body, I would like to introduce a group of individuals who are here with us today. The students from Goal Academy, high school students. Folks, if you stand up, and their leadership is here as well. There's about 20 of the 50 students that are in the building today. About 30 of them are over in the House right now. Apparently there's more space in the House than there is in the Senate. Goal Academy is a great example, a shining example, I would say, of flexibility in education, which is so critically important. Each of us walk through our lives and experience our lives in a different way than the person who may be walking beside us or, quite frankly, walking in a different direction. We serve about 900,000, used to be 900,000, now it's about 850,000 students in K-12 education, and providing flexibility to meet those students where they are is critically important. And that is what Goal Academy is brilliant at doing. They work a number of programs: concurrent enrollment, an opportunity to earn college credit while returning back into the K-12 system is not something that you would think would be easy to do, but Goal Academy is great at delivering that for the students in their care. They provide graduation pathways, and these are students, many of whom have had a bump or hit a pothole in life, and they're trying to find their way back to their academic future, and Goal Academy supports that. They provide career and technical opportunities for students to develop the skills and learning that they need to begin to walk into a successful career while they still might be in high school at Goal Academy. They have a senior recovery program. You know, life isn't consistent for all of us. Sometimes, as we're working through our school experience, life intrudes, life happens, things happen that we did not anticipate, and we need to find a way to get back into the flow of education, and that is something also that Goal is great at doing. And student support is another strength of Goal Academy. It's more than just academic learning that we need, as each one of us needed as we were students working our way through our high school experience into a career, on into college. And Goal is great at providing support beyond academic, personal health, mental health, life support in a meaningful way to attain and achieve academic greatness is what I believe all these students. So students from Goal Academy, give us a wave, and colleagues, encourage these folks with some applause as they move on in through their educational pathway. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
You're welcome, and welcome to the students of Goal Academy. Senator Bright.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today is Greeley Day. Today's Greeley Day. Let's have our friends from Greeley stand up to be recognized. Today's Greeley Day at the Capitol. We are joined this morning by Mayor John Gates, members of the Greeley City Council, City Manager Raymond Lee and staff. Joining the city is University of Colorado, Northern Colorado, Greeley Area Chamber of Commerce, Ames Community College, Greeley Downtown Development Authority, and Greeley Evans School District 6. Each year, the City of Greeley and community partners host a day at the Capitol to share the great happenings going on across the city and advocate for legislation. Please join me in welcoming our guests today that are here on the Senate floor and in the gallery.
Go Bears!
Thank you, Mr. President.
You are welcome, and welcome to the folks from Greeley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to announce that.
Senator Kipp,
Oh, sorry.
1 second.
Oh, apology.
It's all good. It's all good. I got you. Seeing no further moments of personal privilege, committee reports. And Mr. Schaffler, please add Senator Doherty to the roll. Committee reports.
Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 5 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 88 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 89 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 90 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 91 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 92 be referred to the Committee on the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 93 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 94 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 95 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 96 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 97 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 98 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 99 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 100 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 101 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 102 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 103 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 104 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 105 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 106 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 107 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 108 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation and a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 109 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 110 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 111 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 112 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 113 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 114 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 115 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar.
Message from the House.
The House has passed on third reading and transmitted to the Reviser of Statutes House Bill 1034, House Bill 1024. The House has passed on third reading and transmitted to the Reviser of Statutes House Bill 1003, House Bill 1035, House Bill 1050, House Bill 1077, House Bill 1081, amended as printed in House Journal January 30th, 2025. The House has passed on third reading and transmitted to the Reviser of Statutes House Bill 1085, amended as printed in House Journal January 31st, 2025.
Message from the Reviser.
We herewith transmit without comment House Bill 1024 and 1034. Without comment, as amended, House Bill 1003, 1035, 1050, 1077, 1081, and 1085.
Introduction of resolutions. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of HJR 1009.
House Joint Resolution 1009 by Representatives Bacon and English and Senators Coleman and Exon concerning recognizing February of 2025 as Black History Month.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that House Joint Resolution 1009 lay over until Wednesday, February 5th, 2025.
The motion is to lay over HJR 1009 to Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. HJR 1009 will lay over until Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. Third reading of bills. Consent calendar. Introduction of bills. First reading.
Senate Bill 116 by Senator Snyder and Frizzell concerning spousal maintenance guidelines to protect victims of domestic violence.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 117 by Senator Bright concerning the reduction of transportation costs and in connection therewith repealing certain government fees imposed on gasoline and certain special fuel, passenger rides booked through transportation network companies, short-term motor vehicle rentals, and waste tires, and requiring the non-attainment area air pollution mitigation enterprise to establish a reformulated gasoline cost stabilization rebate program.
State, Veteran, and Military Affairs. Now, third reading of bills. Consent calendar. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of the bill on the consent calendar.
Senate Bill 51 by Senators Michelson, Janay, and Pelton R. concerning the definition, and Representative Lindsted concerning the definition of operating costs for calculating cost efficiency metrics for the Regional Transportation District.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the passage of the bill on third reading of bills consent calendar, which includes Senate Bill 51.
Is there any discussion on the bill? Seen none. The motion is the passage of the bill on third reading bills consent calendar. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 0 excused, Senate Bill 51 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Henriksen, Weissman, Winter, Judah. Please add the president. Third reading of bills. Final passage. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 52?
Senate Bill 52 by Senators Winter and Hendrickson and Representatives Valdez and Lindsay concerning the confidentiality of information related to the regulation of railroad operations.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 52 on third reading and final vote, and I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 52. Are there any no votes? Senators, Mr. Minority Leader. Senators Simpson, Frizzell, Catlin, Baisley, Rich, Pelton Beautiful, Kirkmeyer, Bright, Carson, Pelton Radiant, Liston, with a vote of 23 ayes, 12 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 52 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Gonzalez, Weissman, Snyder, Sullivan, Exum, Jaquez Lewis, Kip, Judah, Ball, Michelson Janay. Please add the president. General orders, second reading of the bill's consent calendar. Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bill's consent calendar.
Heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion is adopted, even though there was one no vote. And the Senate will resolve itself in Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bill's consent calendar, and Senator Bridges will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rule is not relaxed. Mr. Majority Leader. It's consent calendar. It's got to be quick. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for the adoption of all the bills on the consent calendar, which includes Senate Bill 23 and House Bill 1022. There are no committee reports.
Is there any discussion of the bills on the consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of all of the bills on the consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and those two bills are adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. We will rise and report.
Senate will come to order. Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had two bills under consideration. Would the clerk please read the report?
February 4th, 2025. Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 23 passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1022 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 0 excused, committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 23 passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1022 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
Heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself in committee of the whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Bridges will take the chair.
Boom goes the dynamite.
I just need to move the bill, right? Yeah. Okay.
The committee will come to order, and the code rule is relaxed for everybody that I am empowered to relax it for. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 10?
Senate Bill 10 by Senators Mullica and Pelton B. And Representatives Brown concerning electronic communications in healthcare.
Senator Pelton.
I move Senate Bill, thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 25-010.
Is there any discussion? Senator Mullica.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is a good bill. It's a bill that will basically allow for folks to receive electronic communication more often from their insurance companies. We believe this is a bill that will save money. This is a bill that will be good for the planet. It will keep more paper from being used. We do have two clarifying amendments, though, Mr. Chair.
Less paper, more money, except for this paper right here. There's an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L002?
Amendment L002, amend printed bill, page 1 after line 1.
Senator Mullica.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L002.
To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Amendment L002 is just clarifying language to make sure that folks' insurance card can be printed electronically, and I would ask for a yes vote.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L002. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. L002 is adopted. There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L001?
L001, amend
Senator
printed bill,
Mullica.
page 2, line 12, strike
Senator
network.
Mullica.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L001.
To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Amendment L001, again, is clarifying language, making sure that that electronic communication can go both ways between both the client and the insurance company. I would ask for a yes vote.
Is there any discussion of L001? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L001. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, but barely. That amendment is adopted. To the bill, any further discussion? Oh, we've got another Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. With this bill, it's not going to open up any, put any factors in to where leaks could happen electronically. Yeah, privacy. Thank you.
Senator Mullica.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the good senator from Cheyenne Wells. No, it will not. It basically, what this bill does is it says you can still opt in to have mail delivered to you, the kind of old-fashioned way, I guess, but you have to opt in there. And so what this is allowing is just for more electronic communication from that insurance company to their patient. But if that patient or that client chooses not to have that or doesn't want that, they still have the option not to have that as well.
I was really hoping for some Pelton conversation there, but that's all right. Is there any further discussion? You did. That's on him. It's on the B. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 010. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and that bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 006?
Senate Bill 006 by Senator Robertson, Representatives Rutnell and Bradfield, concerning authorization for the state treasurer to invest state money for the creation of affordable for-sale housing in the state.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 006 and the Local Government and Housing Committee report.
Is there any discussion of the Local Government and Housing Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of that report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The report is adopted. To the bill, any discussion? Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an amendment.
There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read L004?
L004, amend the Local Government and Housing Committee report dated January 30th, 2025, page 1, strike
Senator
lines 8 and 9.
Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L004.
To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment reflects some further conversations we had after committee with affordable housing advocates as well as the state treasurer's office to make some clarifications about reporting that will happen about this program and make it clear that this is a one-time pilot program as requested by the treasurer's office. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L004. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and that amendment is adopted. To the bill, is there any discussion? Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, I'm really excited to be bringing forward Senate Bill 6. We know we have a very tough budget situation this year, and the state is not in the position to invest any type of grant or loan money for affordable housing, but housing remains one of the biggest challenges facing our state. This is a really innovative pilot program that the state can create to help with the construction of for-sale affordable homes in Colorado. This bill would allow the state treasurer's office to invest $50 million of their already existing reserves to buy bonds from CHAFA that then can be used to buy down the cost of construction or buy down the cost of that mortgage for home buyers. There's parameters in this bill to ensure that it's going to affordable home ownership. You have to be income qualified, but this is a really creative way, I believe, to help continue address the crisis that we have in our state of affordable housing. And it's exciting because it's specifically for affordable for-sale housing, giving people the opportunity to buy that first home, start building generational wealth, and stay in Colorado. So I want to thank everybody that went into the amendments that we went through kind of quickly, but it reflects a good collaborative process that I think brings all of the advocates from across the state to a good place. And with that, look forward to any discussion and would ask for an aye vote.
Senator Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill came to local government and housing this last week, and I just want to explain why I don't support this bill. As the sponsor said, it does authorize the state treasurer to invest up to $50 million of state money into bonds that are issued by quasi-government authorities to create affordable for-sale housing. While this bill aims to increase the state affordable housing supply, it does so at a significant cost. The bill is projected to lower your taxpayer bill of right for refunds, money returned to the taxpayers, by an uncertain amount until the fiscal year 26-27. Additionally, if the state invests $50 million at a rate that is 3% lower than the market rate, it could lead to a loss of $1.5 million in revenue each year. Existing programs such as the Colorado Housing Investment Fund, the Home Investment Partnership Program, the Housing Development Grant Funds, the Housing Development Loan Fund, the National Housing Trust Fund, the Neighborhood Stabilization Program, the Colorado State Affordable Housing Fund, Proposition 123, and the Transformational Housing Loan Fund, while all different, all aim to relieve the financial burden that faces the average Coloradan while trying to achieve home ownership. Cumulatively, these 6 programs, and these are not all of them, but what I could find, exhaust $286.3 million worth of state funds to operate, with an additional $24.7 million deriving from federal funding. It is important to note that this is by no means an exhaustive list, meaning additional relief programs which cost more money are available on top of the $286.3 million from the state already devoted to affordable housing efforts. The state, I believe, is in no financial condition to launch duplicative programs that continue to sap taxpayer dollars. And so I also had a concern, and I'm not sure why this even happened, but because I was having to introduce a bill in another committee. But in one of the amendments, it changed the bill from a petition clause to a safety clause. I don't consider this an emergency, and I think that we abused that part quite a bit. So I'm not sure why that was even necessary. But for those reasons, because I believe that we are not in a financial position to have one more program like this, since we already have so many, I think it would be better if we would consider looking at why can't we get to affordable housing? Maybe it has to do with a lot of the regulations that are already in place and those type of things. I ask for a no vote.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And colleagues, I rise in support of Senate Bill 6. And I'd like to just extend my appreciation to the good senator from Robertsville, Frisco, about his amendments that he has just run, L004, on the floor. I think reflects a number of the amendment perspectives that we heard in committee. I'd also like to, with acknowledgement to the senator from Grand Junction and her perspectives and comments. One, I think we've all heard loud and clear from constituents across the state that affordable housing or the lack thereof is a crisis, and we should be doing everything and anything that we can to address it now. And a petition clause would mean that we would wait until at least August to get these programs off the ground. Additionally, for the number of programs that she referenced that have already been created in statute, I think one of the questions that I'd like to better understand is how many of those programs that she's listing have funds in them that have not yet already been dispersed versus they may still exist, but those funds are already encumbered or expended, and this still, I think, helps us to provide another important avenue and means to build for sale, income-restricted, affordable housing, which is what constituents in my district in Denver, and also as I've traveled across the state, folks across Colorado, urban, rural, suburban communities are all asking us to do what we can. And so I rise in support of this bill, appreciate the comments, and ask for an aye vote.
The good senator from Lundeenville had made meaningful eye contact with me asking to speak, but is now in the back. Senator Baisley, go ahead. Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And So yeah, I was in the committee when we heard this bill as well, and I'm not in favor of the bill for a couple of reasons. And first of all is because this would give permission to the state treasurer to invest, to make an investment that would be less than what the treasurer could make, and getting good returns on the people's money that she has a fiduciary responsibility to do, to maximize that return for us. It also involves us in a market that this would mess with the natural market forces of supply and demand. What I think we would be better off doing in recognizing that we do have a housing crisis is to uninvolve the government as much as possible rather than to involve even greater. So it is generally believed that there's 25% of the cost of new housing, of new construction, is due to regulation. So let's just back that off, and we could more than make up for the amount of money that might be helped with 200 or so houses that would be affected by this bill each year. So yeah, I don't think this is the right area for us to go. And then further, what other industries might we, in our markets, might we inject the government's money in, and by the direction of the treasurer? It does not make sense to me that this is the right move for us, so I would urge a no vote on this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Frizzell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's bad habits die hard.
It is, however, an honor to serve with you, Senator.
Thank you, sir. Back at you. I would like to concur with the good senator from Grand Junction on this bill, and her opinions are very valid. One thing I'm really happy to hear, is the acknowledgement that for sale housing can be affordable housing. Because we have, for a long time, under the Golden Dome, completely ignored that fact. Completely and utterly ignored that fact. We have set forth policies and regulations that have increased the cost of housing, whether it's rental or for sale. We've done it consistently and erroneously, in my opinion. The good senator from Grand Junction listed off a long list of programs, program after program after program that we have created here. Some of them successful, some of them not successful. Some of them are for rental housing, some of them are for sale housing. But we are at this tipping point where we have created program after program after program to the point where we have to create programs to itemize and to track what we have created. I don't see the benefit of taking from the Tabor surplus for diverting funds for yet another program. I agree that we need affordable for-sale housing in the state of Colorado, and I will be a proponent for a bill that does not involve taxpayer dollars to subsidize it. Thank you very much.
Is Senator Lundeen, are you prepared to speak at this point? Senator Lundeen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Moving with alacrity to the podium. Colleagues, I rise in opposition to this bill, Senate Bill 006, not because it's not an idea that's worth taking on perhaps, but because it's suboptimal. And it's yet one more time where we are doing that which we seem to think is the solution to all problems. Throw money. Let's throw some money at this, and that will make everything better. We do it time and time and time again. But the question is, the Sustainability Caucus should be joining me in the effort to do things that are repeatable in a normal marketplace. The sorts of things that will actually resolve the challenge that we have before us, the policy issue that we're trying to get at. Right now, the issue we're trying to get at, and everyone here in this building, I believe, is unified in our effort to make life more affordable for the people of Colorado, for all the people of Colorado. Challenge is this bill is picking winners and losers in a way that I don't think is right. It gives the treasurer the ability to invest the taxpayers' money, your money, at below market rates. Let's go lose some money. Let's go lose some of the taxpayers' money in pursuit of this project. Well, the good senator from Grand Junction did a great job of expanding upon the list, explaining the list of all the places where we're already choosing to throw money at the problem. And they've been in place, many of these issues, both state programs, federal programs, for years and years and years. And the result they're generating? De minimis, not adequate, not really solving the problem we need to solve. Why is that? As we take money from the taxpayers and throw it at a project, why is it that it's not working out? It's because there is not enough money to throw away at projects like this to solve the problem. Well, why is that? The core fundamental issue of affordable housing in Colorado is driven by the fact that we have laws on the books that invite lawsuits in a way that prevents the development of the most affordable, the most attainable of housing, and that is for sale multifamily housing. If we really want to get at the issue, we need to get to the inner workings of how the marketplace actually works, how real capital, not false capital, not money that's cheap and easy to get your hands on because you've already taken it from the taxpayers and now you want to throw it at a project. Real money, market clearing investment money in the order of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars, frankly, is what we need to be invested in Colorado to get a handle on the housing affordability problem. But that money will not come to us unless we address the core issues. And that is this disrespect that we have baked into our laws around the building, the development, and the risk associated with creating multifamily for sale housing, the most affordable and attainable housing available. So, the bill intends to do something, and yes, it may have a de minimis or a limited, a marginal value, like so many of the other projects that we've done. They may have a little impact, but they really don't get at what we truly need to get at, and they do it at the expense of the taxpayers. This particular bill, if you read your fiscal note, you'll see in the fiscal note that this is going to likely reduce the taxpayer Bill of Rights refunds. Well, that's supposed to be money going back into the taxpayers' pockets, which is therefore back into the productive economy. We have found, the General Assembly, over my objection and many of my colleagues' objection, have found other ways to spend that taxpayer refund money that goes to programs that it should not be going to. And this is one more assault on the refunds due to the people of Colorado. The bill potentially, according to the fiscal note, decreases the amount of state revenue required to be refunded to taxpayers by an indeterminate amount in 2026 and 27. The estimate assumes the December 24 LCS revenue forecast. The estimate assumes that the December 2024 LCS revenue forecast of state revenue subject to Tabor is not available beyond the out years 26 and 27. So it's going to get at the taxpayer Bill of Rights refunds. So I'll summarize my arguments, not saying would this have a benefit. Sure, it might have a marginal benefit. Whenever you take economic value away from one entity, one individual, and give it to another individual, there's going to be a benefit for the individual who's on the receiving end. The problem is we're going to take away money from the taxpayers and invest it into a program that may have marginal impact but doesn't really get at the core issue we need to get at. And I hope that we have serious conversations, as we did last year, around this idea of actually addressing the impediment that our construction defects laws are to the development of attainable housing, which is for sale multifamily housing. Mr. Chair, thank you for your attention. Colleagues, I urge your opposition to Senate Bill 6.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wasn't going to chime in on this bill too much, other than we seem to be getting into other policy discussions. It's interesting that there is no silver bullet for affordable housing, and I don't disagree with many of the comments. Housing is a national problem, not just a Colorado problem. As I was at a dinner last night talking to a colleague who told me he saw a train with a large amount of wood being on a train, probably being shipped to California, which is another reason we don't have affordable housing. And interesting that we talk about construction defects. Maybe the prices are up because we're not building solid housing. But to sit there and say that this is the construction defects is the sole fix for this is not true. There's many other things that we need to deal with. Right now, affordable housing is what it means. We build low-income housing. The rest of the housing is higher housing for the people to supplement the lower income, and we squeeze out the middle-income housing for the people that are stuck in the middle. So happy to continue this discussion. I am a yes on this bill, but I just wanted to flag that some of the pointed out reasons are not other policy ideas.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wasn't expecting to have such a robust discussion, but the good minority leader wants to have a serious conversation. Let's have a serious conversation. The good senator from Grand Junction listed a lot of programs that the General Assembly or the state has been involved with over the last few years. And then the good minority leader said they've had de minimis impacts. That is just patently untrue. This past interim, I've been to groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings for affordable housing projects all across my districts. 20 homes in Eagle, 12 homes in Craig, a groundbreaking for over 80 units in Steamboat Springs, all funded by those programs that the good senator from Grand Junction listed. And that's happening across the state in every single one of your districts. Thousands and thousands of affordable housing units have come online because of the work of those programs. The teacher who moved into that home and her family that get to continue to live in their community because of that opportunity, that's not de minimis. The police officer who can continue to serve in his department and keep his community safe because he got one of those affordable housing units, that's not de minimis. That is the type of work that we are trying to do and support. And yes, the government's not going to do it all. This is in partnership with private industry, with construction companies, with developers. That's all this bill does, is add another tool to that toolbox. And that's why it's supported, and I'm glad we have many of them in the building today because it is their day at the Capitol. It's supported, this bill, supported by the Colorado Association of Realtors, supported by the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce, the Mortgage Lenders Association, the Colorado Springs Chamber, Habitat for Humanity. All of those organizations support this bill. And as far as the Tabor refunds implication, the good minority leader left out a key word. The bill potentially decreases the amount of state revenue required to be refunded to taxpayers. That is a line that is included in fiscal notes all the time that implicate tax dollars. And I guarantee that my good friends on this side of the aisle have voted for bills that had that exact line in the fiscal note. So that is not a reason to be against this bill, in my opinion. This bill is about up to 200 families who will get the opportunity to buy a home in Colorado that they wouldn't have been able to buy if this bill doesn't pass. That is not de minimis, that is life-changing for those families in our state, and I'd ask for an aye vote.
Senator Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And there was just one thing I wanted to address. The good senator from Denver came down and asked if we knew how much of the money had been spent from some of those other programs that are out there. And while I don't know what that amount of money is, but if there is still money in there, the point is well made that if there's still money in those grant programs, we don't need another one. I ask for a no vote.
Senator Lundeen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the comments of the bill's sponsor and acknowledge that, in fact, as we take from one and give to another, there is a benefit to the individuals, to the groups that are receiving. My argument is simply this. Let's not forget who is giving. Let's not forget who in fact is funding and supporting this. The teacher from my district or your district that is not getting a refund that they otherwise would get is funding that, potentially that home for someone else. The hardworking family that is dealing with the expense of life in Colorado, the runaway affordability problem we have here. They're addressing that, and we are saying we're going to reallocate money that would otherwise be coming back to you to go to a specific project. I get that. Do we make policy choices all the time? We move from Peter to pay Paul? Oh, I guess I'd be on the receiving end of that. Bad joke, no laughs.
To the bill, Senator.
To the bill. That would be Senate Bill 6. I'm inclined to reset to the entire debate again, but I won't. My argument is simply this. This is, to strain a metaphor, we have a forest of a problem in Colorado of housing unaffordability. It's gigantic in nature. And this is one tree, or a small grove of trees. We must not lose sight in this session, as we did last session between the two chambers, on addressing the fundamental root issues that we must address in order to get at the number of housing units we need to have available, and quite frankly, to make this sort of a project, which will inevitably pass through this chamber and likely through the other chamber, more efficient. The costs embedded in actually building that multifamily for-sale housing is intrusive into every single home that is being built, whether it's funded by a project of this nature where I'm objecting, saying we're taking from one and giving to another. I would rather not do that. I would rather make it more affordable for everyone and let market clearing forces determine what's happening, because that will, in my opinion, give more people opportunity. It will be more even-handed across the state, from district to district, across all 35 of our districts, and not be so targeted as this particular project. I prefer the animal spirits drive this and less policies of this nature, which are prescriptive in nature, take from one, give to another. I, again, renew my opposition, and I acknowledge there are elements of this that could be positive for certain individuals. But I still want us to focus on the bigger solution for more people. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 006. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and that bill is adopted. Senator Roberts, again. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 38?
Senate Bill 38 by Senator Roberts and Representative McCluskey concerning protection of the personal information of persons impacted by wildlife damage.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, let's talk about a less controversial topic. We'll talk about wolves. I move Senate Bill 38 and the Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the committee, we adopted several amendments that were the result of conversations with both the Department of Natural Resources and the folks in the press and the Broadcasters Association. With these amendments, we clarified that the personal information is still going to be protected, but aggregate data will still be available to the public. And with those amendments, the department and the Press Association and the Broadcasters Association moved to a supportive position on the bill, and appreciate all of their input and would ask for an aye vote on the committee report.
Thank you. Is there further discussion on the Ag Committee report? Seeing none, that's your comments are to the bill. Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of the Ag Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that committee report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, Senate Bill 38 came out of the Water Resources and Agriculture Review Committee over the summer, but this is directly from experiences that have happened in the district that I represent. As many of you know, that has been the epicenter of the wolf activity since the voters passed Proposition 114 in 2020, as well as wolves coming down from Wyoming into Jackson County. What Proposition 114 said was that the voters wanted to reintroduce wolves, but it also said that ranchers would be compensated for their losses as the result of that reintroduction. What has happened since that was put into place is we have had depredations on livestock, and I've heard from constituents of mine in several counties that they have decided or are weary of filling out a claim for the compensation that they are legally entitled to because they are afraid of their name and address being made public through a CORA request by a pro-wolf individual or organization who then would want to show up at their property maybe to see a wolf, but more nefariously to give that rancher and agriculture producer a hard time about not taking care of their animals, which is completely unacceptable, and it's getting in the way of them filling out a request of what they're legally entitled to. So what this bill does is says the folks who fill out compensation requests will have their name and business information protected and their address protected should a CORA, an open records request, be filed. Like I mentioned, the amendments we included make sure that aggregate data will still be available so folks will know how much money is going to what county on what dates, but the individual name of that person or their business and their address will be protected so that they feel comfortable filling out a claim for what they are legally entitled to. I appreciate the unanimous support in the Agriculture and Water Resource Review Committee, as well as our Senate Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee, and would ask for an aye vote today.
Senator Pelton B.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say I appreciate everything that the good senator from Frisco has done on this bill. He's really worked hard to make sure. We talked about it this summer. It's funny, he called me when I was on my tractor, and I had to turn it down so I could hear him. But anyway, this bill is very, very important to ag producers across the state. We need to protect their identity to make sure that they're not being harassed by certain individuals that might do that. And I really appreciate all the work that he's done with that. And I just really appreciate the way he has represented his district so well in this aspect. So I just want to say thank you to the good senator from Frisco, and I will be an aye vote today. Thank you.
Senator Pelton R.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also heard this bill in committee. This bill is vital. There are a lot of emotions and passions on both sides of this issue, and there are people that want to come on these people's property and maybe cause some harm or damage. So I think this is imperative, and I think the good senator from Avon has done an awesome job of threading that needle to where, their information can be protected and they can get their compensation without harassment. So I am in full support of this bill, and thank you.
Seeing no Senator Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to come down and talk about this bill a little bit in reference to my district. We just got a whole bunch of new neighbors in my district. They were just released within the last 2 weeks. And numerous people have come to me and said, Senator, we're concerned that if we fill out these forms and our name is now able to be CORA'd, we're not positive what will be so that we won't know who's coming on our place, why they're coming on their place, because there are a lot of people in the state that want to see a wolf. I understand that. If their name is released and their address is released, what about just people coming to that ranch saying, I know there must be wolves here and I want to go there? Well, that interrupts a cattle operation something fierce, because those animals don't expect to have company in the pasture. Not just the idea of increased tourism, but people that have attitudes that anyone that's attempting to get repaid for wolf damage is not on their side. This is something the state of Colorado decided we were going to do. We're going to bring wolves, and there's bills that says we're going to compensate people for loss. And we're going to. We have those laws in place. but the threat of being exposed is causing some of these ranchers to say, I won't file. Folks, we really need to encourage them to do this because those ranchers in those communities are the bedrock of a lot of those towns and counties. We need them to survive. So this is one of those bills that I think all of us should simply say, yes, we want to do this so that the system works for the producer. It also works for those that want to have an advocacy for wolves. Because there's no need in you and I worrying about how many neighbors are going to come on the place to take a look at it or to see how we're managing the animals. This is a good sense bill. This makes common sense. I would recommend a yes vote. Thank you.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank the good senator from Montrose for his comments and formally welcome him on the mic to Wolf Country with the recent reintroductions in your district now. And colleagues, I just wanted to state on the record, Senator Catlin, when he was a representative, was going to be a prime sponsor of this bill, and so we hope to get him added between second and third reading now and thank him for his support.
Seeing no further love fest on Senate Bill 38, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 038. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that bill is adopted. Mr. Schaffler, will you please read the title to Senate Bill 39?
Senate Bill 39 by Senators Bridges and Pelton B. and Representative Martinez concerning exemptions from energy use reporting requirements for owners of certain buildings.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over Senate Bill 39 until Thursday, February 6th.
Motion is to lay over Senate Bill 39 until 2/6. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that bill will lay over. Mr. Schaffler, will you please read the title to Senate Bill 14?
Senate Bill 14 by Senators Danielson and Jaquez Lewis and Representatives Garcia and Titone concerning repealing the statutory unconstitutional ban on same-sex marriage.
Senator Jaquez Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 2514.
To the bill.
Thank you. Colleagues, as we know, last year in our November election, the voters of Colorado spoke very loudly by a 64% approval rate that they wanted to remove the state constitutional barriers to same-sex marriage. Here's the problem that we want to solve today with Senate Bill 14. Our state statutes do not match our amended Constitution. That discriminatory language against same-sex marriage is still in state law. And the margins that the Colorado voters spoke, it was large. So there is no policy more personal for anyone than what we're discussing today. Who a Coloradan loves, who a Coloradan wants to marry should not be anyone else's business, let alone the business of government. Obviously, I'm one of the Coloradans who would be most impacted if we do not align our state laws with our Constitution. When I met my spouse, Allison, 20 years ago, there was no marriage. At the time, we had no idea that we could have those family ceremonies, that joyous celebration. We would not have thought that would be an option for us. In fact, most of the LGBT community back then had private ceremonies in public parks, mountains, backyard gardens, simply at their home. After living together and enjoying our many years together, the Colorado legislature finally passed civil unions in 2013, and we said, yes, finally, we can be partially legitimate and legal. We would not have to worry if I or if Allison was ever hospitalized. We could be by each other's side. But the legal protections were murky and limited. In 2014, we joined 200 couples to receive a license, but we knew that license was tenuous. We knew that it could be challenged, and indeed it was. And our legal rights were frozen. We know it took a Supreme Court decision, the Obergefell decision, for myself, my spouse, and so many LGBTQ couples across the country to be legally married. But I want to remind everyone here, that vote was 5-4. 5-4. And we have a different Supreme Court now. There could be another court sometime in the future that could say to married LGBTQ couples like myself that if your state laws don't align, then all rights could be thrown out. I mean, we're seeing strange things happen now. Look at what we're seeing with bathrooms. Who's to say a court justice somewhere in Washington, D.C. might rule that a statewide vote shouldn't count and that legislators know better than voters? I say these things, colleagues, because I've seen a lot go wrong for our LGBTQ community. I'm seeing it now. As someone who led some of the first gay pride marches in the South, I saw and felt discrimination and hatred then, and sadly, I'm seeing it and feeling it for my transgender members, citizens, residents. We can do the right thing today by passing Senate Bill 14. We can make our Colorado laws crystal clear, challenge-free, and respectful of the will of the people of Colorado. We must protect the ability for any Coloradan to love who they want to love and marry who they want to marry. Let's affirm marriage equality in our Colorado state statute. Let's protect the freedom to marry.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pardon me. Thank you, colleagues, for your time today. I want to thank my colleague for her words and her bravery, and also all the people that came yesterday to talk to us about these very issues. It was a huge lobby day, and our constituents came from all over the state to talk to us about how we can best support members of our own communities. And I was so privileged to be joined by a number of my constituents from Jefferson County. And they talked to me about how this law in particular will protect their family, their marriage, their legal, every legal protection that, in their own words in our committee hearing, heterosexual couples take for granted. And I got hitched, and it was easy as can be. There were no barriers. We had a lovely wedding, and we never had to think about all of the things that my friends and neighbors and family members have to think about when they get married just because they happen to be in the LGBTQ plus community. They're right. Many of us take these things for granted. We take for granted custody issues. We take for granted, as my colleague mentioned, hospital visits, death benefits, insurance, basically everything that comes along the joyous part of a marriage, the family building blocks. There's also a lot of legal protections built into it too. So I wanted to thank my constituents also who came, because it's from their words to my ears, because I'm not a member of this wonderful community. I have I think a heightened obligation to do right by them. I learned about issues facing their children, their children's friends, their cousins, their neighbors. These are real things that impact people in a really negative way. My colleague is right. We've got a chance to do the right thing here. It has always been unsettling to me as a Coloradan that this hateful language, this discriminatory language still resides in our statutes for the state that I love so much, for my friends and my family members to be threatened in this way. Another witness came to the committee to remind us that this bill isn't just symbolic, because we do have the constitutional protection that the voters insisted on, demanded this last fall. She reminded us that more than 64% of Coloradans voted to affirm these rights, to strip this hateful language that's in our Constitution. But to reflect that in our state statutes is also important. She reminded us we have already been subject to these fundamental rights being stripped away from us. At the federal level, there's a renewed attack against members of the LGBTQ plus community. This is something that we live with every single day, she says. And so to make sure that Colorado extends that constitutional protection that the voters demanded overwhelmingly to our state statutes is the right thing to do. And urged us not to allow Colorado to revert back to an era where LGBTQIA plus couples would have to jump through these hoops to prove that their love is valid. We heard witnesses come and explain to us that they were lucky enough to find the love of their life and marry this person, and that all they want is to continue to live safely and peacefully. Again, concerns that I don't have in my own marriage because it's not threatened. They said, we want this discriminatory language stripped of our state statutes to ensure the same rights as everybody else. And so I thank them for their bravery stepping forward, and I urge you to vote yes on this measure. I'm a fourth-generation Coloradan, and we were known as the hate state for a long time. And rightfully so, we earned that terrible reputation. Well, we've shed it for the most part, I think. I feel good about that, and this is one step to shedding that hateful reputation and saying goodbye to the days where Colorado is known as the hate state. And so I'm incredibly proud to be up here alongside my colleague and hopefully pass this bill, and I urge your support. And thank you again for your time.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 14? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 14. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that bill is adopted. Mr. Schaffler, will you please read the title to Senate Bill 55?
Senate Bill 55 by Senators Winter and Marchman concerning measures to involve youth in environmental justice.
Senator Winter. Senator Winter. Senator Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 55 on second reading and for passage.
To the bill.
This came from our Colorado Youth Advisory Committee, which is a group of dedicated young people working to make our state better. It was originally created by Senator Ellen Roberts. And this year they came to us and said, we want to have a stronger voice in environmental justice. And you created the Environmental Justice Advisory Task Force, and we would like to have a seat on that board and an ex officio member who gets trained to be on that board so we can be productive and help make decisions, because it's really the young people that are impacted an incredible amount by the impacts of climate change. And so I encourage a yes vote.
Further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 55. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The aye has it, and that bill is adopted. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we will rise and report.
Senator will come back to order. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee met and we considered several bills. Mr. Schaffler, will you please read the report?
February 4th, 2025. Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs to leave to report has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 10 as amended, Senate Bill 6 as amended, Senate Bill 38 as amended, Senate Bill 14, Senate Bill 55 passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 39 laid over until February 6, 2025 and retaining its place in the calendar.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 0 excused, committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 10 is amended, Senate Bill 6 as amended, Senate Bill 38 is amended, Senate Bill 14 as amended, Senate Bill 14, rather, Senate Bill 55, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed in place on the count of a third reading and final passage, Senate Bill 39 laid over until 2/6/2025, and retaining its place on the calendar. Announcements. Senator Wiseman.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is to announce the State Affairs Committee will meet at 2 p.m. today in SCR 352. We have 2 bills on our calendar. They are SB 57 and SB 59. See you at 2.
Very good. Senator Kipp.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I am announcing that Senate Finance Committee will meet in SCR 357 at 2 p.m. to hear SB 25025, SB 25056, and SB 25072. Look forward to seeing y'all there.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bring your books. We are going to be breaking up for our caucus conversations about the supplemental budget request. As soon as we are done here, Democrats' old Supreme Court. See you there. Bring this.
Where are the Republicans meeting? Phone booth. Senator Marchman. That's terrible. No, Senator Liston said that.
Thank you, Mr. President. I sent an email out to my colleagues, but just wanted to remind you we're going to have a conversation, lunch and learn tomorrow around the nuclear caucus. We've got energy fuels coming tomorrow. So we'll have a number of other meetings and lunch and learns as we go to cover environmental impact and safety and other measures. So hope you'll join us.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members to my caucus, once again, I want to remind you of our lunch and learn for nuclear energy, this Colorado-based company called Energy Fuels. So mark your calendars tomorrow from 11 to 11:30 to 1. Lunch will be served. If you can't make it, send your aide. And that goes for my good colleagues on the other side of the aisle. You're invited. Thank you, Mr. President.
You got it. Senator Kirkmeyer. Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick reminder that the Senate Business, Labor, and Technology Committee will be meeting at its normal time at 2 p.m. in the old Supreme Court chambers. We'll be hearing one bill, Senate Bill 37. It is Senator Roberts' Day in the Senate today.
Senator Roberts' Day in the Senate. Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to announce that the Senate Republicans will be having their open public caucus with regard to the supplementals in room 357, 15 minutes upon adjournment. Thank you.
Very good. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you. Colleagues, we will be recessing as we have to read some bills across the desk later today. There's no need to return. On that note, Mr. President, I move the Senate recess.
Real quick, we have one more announcement. Sorry about that, Mr. Majority Leader. Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
I want to thank RTD for today's Zero Fare for Transit Equity Day. When we boarded the bus this morning, we didn't have to pay because reminiscent and reminding people about Rosa Parks and what she did to open up the bus system there for us. So thank you so much for that. And also I want to thank the driver for Route 135 for giving us a courtesy stall on the 83L bus that generally leaves 1 minute before we pull into the station and causes 8 different people to be delayed 15 minutes every single day. He called ahead, the bus waited, the 8 of us got over and got on the bus, and we got down here 15 minutes earlier. So thank you to that RTD bus driver today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Very good. Thank you. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate recess until 11 a.m. today.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will stand in recess until 11 a.m. today.